What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports MLB Swing for the Fences show. I'm your host, Mangone. I'm back with Hoop. I'm back with DC. We're talking MLB baseball on a Tuesday. We also got basketball. It's just a great day for sports. We'll kick it off with you first, Hoop. How's it going over there?
Yeah, it's going well. Another good day of baseball. We got a solid NBA slate as well. But before we hop in, I mean, DC, our boy Schrock, yesterday got it done for us, then immediately to the injured list. What the hell?
He died a hero, I guess.
Yeah.
Home run early, triple later in the game. I unfortunately didn't have him in my couple lineups, but yeah, we identified him on the show. He was fantastic. And what was it? A hamstring? I didn't even see what the injury was.
I don't know, but yeah, he crushed everyone.
Hey, Mr. Schrock, maybe we'll see you again in 10, 15 days. You can be a hero once again.
Yeah, Run Pure. A lot of people played him. I actually didn't end up playing him either, which was unfortunate the way my team went. But a lot of people did. We're getting the comments on Twitter, and then I see today they released their lineup, and he's not in the lineup and on the 10-day DL. So he got the job done for us, 1-for-1 in the Run Pure Sports Hearts.
Yeah. Did he hurt his third leg running across the home plate line?
Sure.
Get a little mistake on it or something?
Dragging on the ground is a little sore. He needs some time off the bench.
Yeah, which is okay. You know, he hit the bench hard first time out there, but he was a hero for it. So
they said calf strain, so it was just pounding against his calf when he was rounding the bases, and the calf couldn't handle it anymore.
Yeah, it was good. You guys talked about how he won some people some money. DC, we'll go to you. Tell us about the baseball slate first before we talk about the members never win. Tell us about how your baseball week went, and you excited here to talk some baseball with us today.
Yeah, pretty good. Kind of a strange slate tonight. I mean, normally 14-game Tuesday night slate. We got no real weather issues that I see right now. That's all well and good. The pitching options seem a little limited to me, to be honest. We kind of talked yesterday. We thought it was a fairly limited pitching slate. I kind of see the same thing today. There are options at the top, but for me, that's kind of the story of this slate, where I don't think there are a ton of different places to go. So if you're trying to get different in pitching, and you don't need to, we've talked about that before. You get two pitchers that hit, it's fine if other people have them. But then, yeah, I think there'll be a lot of offense. We get back in Coors Field. Seems like it's been forever since we've been back in Coors Field with like good weather. We're going to be there all week, so prepare for a lot of chalky Rocky stacks, especially on FanDuel, where all the Rockies are like 3K or under. So that's going to dominate, I think, a lot of lineups, and then I think you'll see some pretty condensed ownership at pitching as well. So we'll break it all down for you guys over these 14 games.
Yeah, the Bucks, they ended up sweeping. The Rockies are back. If the Suns beat the Lakers this week, who we might have to watch out. Title might be peeling way too much. I mean, he might need a couple of days off for a little burn there after all the stroking he's going to be doing down low. Hoop, what do you think? Title's going to be exciting. You got fours, you got everything for him.
Yeah, Title. It was looking rough for Title. I mean, he's taking the victory lap on the Bucks. I nailed him on Twitter because he said that the Bucks were free money this, free money that. I asked him how his son's money was going, and then sure enough, the Suns come and pound me. But he'll learn. He'll still learn. I think the Lakers get out of that series, so Title will pay the ultimate price.
Yeah, it's definitely been fun. The playoffs have been a really, really good time. Absolutely loving it. The NBA's been good. The MLB's been awesome too.
Mangone's dying on us.
Broken himself. I mean, I know you love that, Hoop. We got to talk about the members never win segment, right? TC Morris, I believe his name was, won $50K using Big T's core yesterday. So put that up on the screen and show that there. Hoop, I don't know if you saw that team, but he used Big T's lineup. So I don't know. What'd you think about that?
Yeah, I saw. I mean, a very phenomenal win. 50,000. Which contest was that? Was it like a $15 buy-in? What was the?
I think it was 12 yesterday, but yeah,
12. Was it 12 yesterday? Yeah, I mean, it's an impressive win following Big T's core. I mean, if you want to follow core, I mean, Big T is a good one to follow because of the recent success that Big T has had. Obviously, Russell Westbrook at only 22% owned. I mean, if you were playing Russell Westbrook towards the end of the NBA season, that 22% ownership didn't exist because Westbrook was the highest owned guy basically almost probably the last 2 months of the season when he's just kind of going off every single slate. But the recent injury concerns really brought his ownership down here in the playoffs, 22%, very low for him, and he went off for 72. So that was clearly the difference maker.
I'm just hoping maybe members never win, and we love the members staking other members, but maybe they can stake Mangone some new internet so he can stick with us on this show. That'd be
that'd be nice.
Yeah, the internet is struggling here. We'll get it figured out. The Memorial Day weekend kind of messed me up. I should have it sorted out here, but we'll have to see. Maybe play some bets in the chat when it actually happens, and maybe you can make some money that way and then stake some people some free subs. But we got him in the chat. He said it was the 555 actually, so that's what he chipped it in. Yeah. And obviously he had a nice little day. I mean, he did the old BigT, play the two centers, right? The Gafford and Lopez, and the one key too was no Embiid, right? Like sometimes you just fade the chalkiest guy on the slate. And like, you don't have to do too much else, right? Hoop. Like I looked at his team and ownership wise, like everyone was above 20%, but when you fade someone like Embiid, that's kind of how it goes down.
Yeah. I mean, on these smaller NBA playoff slates, it just takes one or two moves to really make the difference. And like I said, the rest of these guys pretty popular. You fade a guy like Embiid that was really popular. You differentiate yourself immediately. So like I said, a smaller slates, these NBA playoff slates, I mean, just one or two little moves and you can get yourself to the top of the leaderboard.
Yep. If you want to sign up for Run Pure Sports, you get everything. You get MLB, NBA, everything that you want with sports. You got MMA coming up this weekend. We got so much stuff over here at Run Pure. Use that code RPS Heater 25 to get 25% off. And if you have a promo code for new internet for me, send that my way.
In exchange, we can swap promo codes. We can get like a AT&T representative to get Mangone like a promo code for some faster speed internet. That'd be great.
There you
go. We'll give away a month of Run Pure subscription for a month of faster internet for Mangone.
We got a marketing deal, dude. Can you call up Comcast and we'll trade a month of Run Pure for a month of internet for Mangone. We'll be good to go.
Yeah, and any reason to send BigT to FedEx, right? We'll throw in a shirt too, right? He'll head right after the show. He'll head right there to make sure to get that taken care of because that's what BigT does. But again, guys, before we get moving in to more of the baseball talk, please hit that like, hit that subscribe on the video. You don't want K Fallick in the chat complaining that we need to talk some baseball. So hit that like and hit that subscribe. And let's dive in and start talking about it. Hoop, I will go over to you first. We talked a little DC, talked about some slate strategy, but what are you kind of doing in cash games at pitcher? Like, it doesn't seem like a clear-cut slate where we just say, oh, Max Scherzer's on the mound, right? There are some guys, right? Glass now looks like an interesting play. You got Robbie Ray. We know how volatile he can be. Alex Wood, who we talked about on the show last week, he's looked a lot better. There's options we can go to here. What are you doing there, Hoop?
Yeah, I mean, there's options here. And, I think the overall sentiment, which DC kind of touched on, is it's not like these slam dunk, you just lock them in type plays that, honestly, we typically get at the pitcher position. There's some slates where you don't, but most slates, it's pretty clear who the best pitcher is going to be, or at least who you think is going to get the most fantasy points tonight. Pretty wide open. But for me, like in this top tier, the guy I feel most comfortable with is Glass now. I know people will see the matchup with the Yankees in Yankee Stadium and get a little bit scared, but the Yankees, their offense is not that great, to be honest with you. They've really been struggling. So I'm fine going to a guy like Glass now, who to me is the best pitcher on the slate. Not an ideal matchup by any means, but the one against the Yankees is not what it once was. So I'm fine going to Glass now at the top. He's the guy I probably feel most comfortable spending on it. And you're not fully spending. I mean, he's under 10K, only 9.8K. So you're getting a little bit of a deal in my mind. He's more expensive on FanDuel. Now, if you come down a little bit more, I think Robbie Ray is a fine option at home. I guess home is now Buffalo for the Blue Jays. So in Buffalo against the Marlins, and just a high strikeout guy. I mean, a high variance guy as well. I mean, he's a guy over the years that we've seen get shelled and he'll bounce back next game and get you 10 strikeouts. You're going to get 5, 6, 7 strikeouts probably at the least with him. I think it's a good matchup here against Miami. So he's a guy I definitely like in this range. Alex Wood is another guy I think that we needed to bring into the conversation. 8.7K, just been pitching very solid at home here against the Angels team without Mike Trout. I think he's obviously a guy that should be on our radar tonight. Eric Lauer is another guy who gets a good matchup here against Detroit. Not a guy that you typically feel comfortable paying 8.4K for, but matchup here against the Tigers, I have some interest in. And then the last name that I wanted to mention is in a spot we typically don't go for pitching, and that's Coors Field and Marquez. At home here, like not the greatest spot in Coors Field, but I just think he's a good pitcher and he's had success in the stadium. His last three, he got rocked against the Giants basically like a month ago, but against the Reds here at home, he piled up 19 fantasy points against the Diamondbacks, 31. 6.7, you're getting a discount because of the ballpark, but I think I'm fine going to him here, even in Coors Field. So those are the 4 or 5 guys that kind of on my list here. And as you guys know, like I'm not someone that's going to play a ton of pitchers. My pitcher player pool is always pretty condensed, and today is no different. So those are kind of the 5 guys that I'm looking at.
Yeah, a lot of different options you can go to. Also worth mentioning, Toronto, they're in a different park, right? So with them being in that park, the wind is going to be more of a factor. At least that's everything I've read on it so far.
Yeah.
DC, if you have anything to add, talk about that park and then talk about your pitching, because you love Tyler Glass now. He's a guy that you've been rostering a ton. So I'm curious to get your take on that and all the pitching, but definitely talk about the Toronto stuff, because I feel like you'll have some insight more than me.
Yeah. So the Toronto moves from Dunedin, Florida, which, has been the hottest park in baseball, the warmest park over these first 2 months. Now they go to Buffalo, where the dimensions are smaller, right? It's a minor league park, so they typically have smaller dimensions. But I read the same thing you did, Mangone, where the wind direction in Buffalo can affect it a lot, because the park is like a mile or something from Lake Erie. We all know, like Browns games, how crazy those can get sometimes with the weather and the wind. So it's going to be one of the windiest parks. And I think what I read is most of the time the wind will be blowing, kind of across the field or in from right center field. And when that's the case, it'll play, kind of like a pitcher's park, despite the small dimensions. And then occasionally when the wind turns around directions and goes out to center field or left field, it'll play like a pretty good hitter's park. It's one of those open air parks, kind of like Wrigley Field, where the wind affects the flight of the ball a ton. That's not the case in all parks. It's not the case in San Francisco. It's not the case in Oakland, where they have kind of that big wall behind home plate. They're not open air necessarily. So yeah, it looks like today the wind is blowing in, and that's would certainly be a good thing for Robbie Ray. We've been on him a lot over these last few starts, coming off, one of his worst starts of the year, but he's figured it out. I mean, last 7 starts, he's got a grand total of 3 walks. He's got, over 50 to 60 strikeouts over that time. He's always been a massive strikeout guy. Now he's throwing harder than ever. I think Robbie Ray is going to keep it rolling. So I do like him at 8,500, especially in, outside of Dunedin, where the ball was just absolutely flying. It was kind of scary to roster him there. And Ray's biggest problem had been home runs. Like he's still given up. He's given up 14 home runs on the year. That's close to the major league lead. Part of that, of course, is playing, so many games in tough parks. So he doesn't really have to deal with that anymore. So Robbie Ray, I think, is a good option. I'm with you, Hoop. I think Glasnow, clearly the highest upside guy, right? Like when he's on his game, he's just untouchable. I would like him more if he was at home here, going into Yankee Stadium. It's not so much the lineup that scares me. It's just kind of a tough place to pitch in general. So that's a little bit worrisome, but Glasnow, if he's on, it won't matter. So I think he's a high upside guy. And then the 2 guys I kind of like, I guess, sort of in the mid-range, along with Robbie Ray, Chris Bassett has just been incredible this year, just rolling right along. He gets a great matchup in Seattle against a Mariners team that's not doing much lately. And then Alex Wood, I've been on him these last 4, 5, 6 starts. He looks kind of like a new man. I mean, he's just pitching incredible from a start-to-start basis. At home here against an Angels team missing Mike Trout and also likely missing Shohei Ohtani. They lose the DH going into a National League park, so he likely won't be in the lineup. Could be playing right field, but likely won't be. Even if he is, lefty for Alex Wood, not that bad of a matchup. So, yeah, for me, Wood and Bassett, the guys that I'm looking at already over in my core plays. I put them up early. Pretty sure I'm not moving off those guys, but Robbie Ray I think is good too. Eric Lauer, and then I don't have a problem going to Marquez. Clearly has upside, right, Hoop? But you just don't know. I mean, he could get blown up too. So more of a tournament play if you have an expensive stack that you really like. I wouldn't mind going in that direction.
Yeah, I do want to ask you about Bassett a little bit. So I was torn on what to do with him, DC, because I want to play him in this matchup, right? But didn't he pitch a ton in that last game? Do you know what like the pitch count was? Because I feel like that sometimes like jumping on these pitchers that have pitched a while, right? You could see some type of regression or the manager pulling. Like sometimes you see some weird stuff happen, which gets me concerned. So I wanted to ask you, as someone that definitely follows a ton of that closely, right? He pitched, the entire game, right? He went 9 innings. Pitch a 2-hitter. Do you have any concerns about that? It is Seattle, and Seattle's not the best. I know they've been hitting a little better, but I don't know exactly what to do with Bassett here because he looks like a good play.
Yeah, that's a good point. They did kind of stretch him out all the way, right? 114 pitches isn't somewhere where I think they want him to be in general. Like that's 11 more pitches than he's thrown in any other start this season. So I guess that is a concern. We've kind of seen that, all the guys that have thrown no hitters and gone kind of above and beyond where they typically go with their pitch counts have, for the most part, kind of disappointed in their next start, whether it be due to performance or due to their manager pulling them early. So yeah, I could see that being a concern with Bassett. My guess is he'll be fine. Like he's not he's a guy that throws 5 pitches. He mixes in a ton of off-speed stuff. He's not a, max effort fastball type guy whatsoever. So I think he'll be okay, but I could see that being enough for you to, move elsewhere because there are some good options on the slate for sure.
Steve Anthony did bring up a good point. Kyle Lewis is on the DL. So Kyle Lewis is definitely a good bat in that lineup. So that ensures that Steve Anthony will have every opportunity to just jam Ty France into his lineups, I'm sure, too. Yeah. They need to have some power bats in their lineup with no Kyle Lewis. Hoop, what are you thinking of Bassett here with like that pitch count? Like obviously 7.2 innings and then 9 innings. That's a guy I considered a little bit. I was like, okay, he could be worth playing. Does that concern you when you're looking at your lineups?
No, I mean, I do like him. 9.1K. If I'm there, I'm fine playing him. Like I definitely prefer going up to Glass now. I don't mind going to this mid 8-tier range. To me, if it came down to like, Ray and Bassett, like I think it's a decision. I really do. And I'm not concerned with how deep he's gone recently. He's just been good. And I think Mariners offense is just shitty. Like they suck. Like the top guys, yeah, they have some bats up there. Like Haniger's a bat you're afraid of. Maybe Kyle Seager occasionally, but man, you get to the bottom of that lineup, it is dusty. So I think it's a really good matchup for Bassett. And yeah, he's definitely in my player pool today.
What would you do with Nola and Sonny Gray, right? Again, they're good pitchers, but the ballpark, like I don't love that park. And I think it's a tough spot to go to. Like someone's asking in the chat on FanDuel, any interest in a guy like Sonny Gray?
No, Sonny Gray is a guy I feel much better. Like I said, I like Bassett more there, and I like going down to Wood or Ray. I don't think I'm ever going to settle on Sonny Gray at 8.9K. Nola, 10-2. I just feel like I can get the same guy for $1,700 less. Like the Bassett's and then Wood and Ray. Like, what's the difference between those guys and Nola? To me, it's not enough to warrant paying, an extra $1,200, $1,500, $1,600, $1,700. So he'll just be a casualty due to his price.
All right, DC, I'm going to go back to you. Talk to me a little bit about Eric Lauer, because the Tigers are on the slate, right? And the Tigers, they are definitely a team that you can attack, but they have enough righties in that lineup, and he's a lefty. Typically, the right-handed pitchers are better, but Lauer, I think he's someone that you can get away with here on this slate against the Tigers, and Lauer hasn't been that bad. Now, the price at 8.4, I wish it was more in the 7K range, but he's right around Robbie Ray. Could be an interesting pivot. DC, what are you doing with a guy like Lauer against this Tigers team?
Yeah, he's got to be in consideration, right? Decent price point here. He's pitched pretty well on the season. I'm not really kind of a long-term believer in Lauer to the point, to the extent that I am, especially Robbie Ray, who's priced right next to him. Like, I'm just really certain that the current version of Robbie Ray is a very, very good pitcher. Much less certain about that with Eric Lauer, but certainly the matchup's good, right? I mean, this Tigers lineup is just atrocious. I think they do have, 8 right-handed or switch hitters in the lineup against the lefty Lauer. So that's a little bit of a concern, but obviously most of them aren't really any good. So yeah, I have no problem with him. I mean, Vegas believes, right? We got a 3.25 team total for the Tigers. So they expect Lauer and the Brewers to pitch well. So I have no problem with it. How long he's going to go into the game, I think is somewhat in question. High on the year is 91 pitches. Last start was 85. I think he's got to pitch pretty well to get through 6. So there's that. I don't know. He's probably 4th or 5th on my list. He's certainly in play, but I definitely prefer Robbie Ray and Alex Wood over him in that same price range.
It sounds like we're kind of in agreement on like the Wood and Ray in the mid tier. What about some cheapies, right? Now, I know this has been more of a DFS season where the cheap pitchers haven't been as in play, right? But prices are starting to go up on some hitters, and it's not the greatest pitching slate. And sometimes just going down towards the bottom could make some sense. I mean, your boy Marquez or Marquis, he's on the slate DC, and you got the Rockies hat on. So I'm sure you have some interest in a Texas team that can strike out a ton. And it's the first game in Colorado. Yeah. You even like Brady Singer. That's another guy I know that you have interest in at times, and it's Pittsburgh, right? I think he could get the job done. He is a pitcher's ump as well. So don't hate that. And Milwaukee's not the greatest team, and Matt Boyd does have some strikeout upside. So there are guys here in this range that I think you can get away with in the 6K range. So any interest in these guys, DC?
Yeah, I mean, Singer, I think on paper, projection-wise, he would probably look all right, like a big favorite here. Pittsburgh obviously can't hit very well. I'm not actually much of a believer in Singer. They do have 6 lefties leading off their lineup tonight. So I'm not on Singer. I get it at 6,900 if you want to go there. I would rather play Marquez. I think he's got more upside. Listen, he's had, over these last few years in Coors Field, he's had a number of very, very strong starts in Coors Field. Every third start, he's thrown a gem in Coors Field or close to it, it seems like. He also will occasionally just get absolutely blown up and give up 9-10 earned runs in 2 innings. It's really, really difficult to tell which one you're going to get. So, yeah, he's in play in tournaments, and obviously a Texas stack very much in play too. I don't have, I guess, a super strong take there, but if you need an upside guy, at SP2 on DraftKings, I have no problem playing him. And you mentioned, Travis, that a lot of this season it's been kind of hard to play these cheaper pitchers, and I think a big reason for that is the team's 4th and 5th starters now, as compared to 5-10 years ago, they don't have the leash, right? Like, even if they're pitching well, they'll still get pulled after 60 or 70 pitches. That's just the way modern baseball is going. So if you're going to go cheaper at an SP2, you need to make sure it's a pitcher that, if they're performing well, they will get to go 90 to 100 pitches. And certainly that would apply to a guy like German Marquez. That would apply to a guy like Matthew Boyd, who's 6,500. I don't particularly like him, but at least these guys have the opportunity to put up a big game. Some of the other guys that you see occasionally they don't even have the chance, because they're going to get pulled after 60 or 70 pitches no matter how well they're doing.
I hope you talked about having a bit of a wider pool today than normal. Typically, you like to keep your player pool small at pitcher. And there's guys that you said, they're not amazing options, but they're good options. Sometimes you go down to the basement and take some guys. Do you think this is a day to do it? I mean, I think Marquez makes the most sense of a guy I would go to. I don't hate the idea of Matt Boyd, but again, it's Matt Boyd. Do I really want to do that? Are there any guys down here, cheap hoop, that you would like to go to?
I mean, if I'm coming down here, it's going to be, Marquez and Boyd are the cheapest I would go, but definitely a strong lead to Marquez. I mean, he has a lot of upside. Yes, he's in Coors. Yes, he could potentially get blown up, like DC said. It wouldn't surprise me if this guy goes out and gets, 7 innings pitched, 9 strikeouts, 2 earned runs, picked up the win. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes out and gives up 8 earned runs or whatever the hell it is. But I just feel a lot better with him. There's upside. There's a lot of upside in him, even in Coors Field, which is kind of, hard to fathom sometimes. And then Matt Boyd, I think, is, more stable maybe than maybe even not. I don't know. You look at his stuff, maybe not. I don't know. I like Marquez way more, I think, than anyone else in this range.
Yeah, that's fine to say. If you're going in that range, it's Marquez for me too.
Yeah.
So. That's all I think.
I really wouldn't overthink.
Marquez, if you go down here, I think it's pretty easy to say that. People are asking about this Luis Garcia guy, right, against Boston. Hoop, I don't know how much you know about him. Would you look to go to him again, attacking those Boston bats? Is that something you want to do? He grades out okay. He's got an extreme hitter's ump. What are you doing with Garcia at that 8-3 range? Are you playing him, or are you just playing the other guys you like instead?
He's been pitching. You pull it up. He's been pitching really well. There's no denying that. But, man, Robbie Ray, a little bit more expensive. Alex Wood right there. I just have a hard time not playing those guys over Garcia. I don't necessarily think Garcia is a bad play. He's proven to have some upside, obviously, and he's been very steady in his last 6 starts. So, if you like him, sure. But for me personally, I prefer those guys that are a little more expensive.
Yeah. Vegas does like Garcia a little bit here. I was surprised to see a Boston team total below 4, frankly. It was kind of surprising to me. I've been on Garcia this season a lot, and I have like what I've seen, but I don't think he is, some ace in the making. I don't see that future for him. So hard to play someone against Boston who you don't think has, kind of ace level upside on any given night. And I don't quite see that with Garcia. So I think Robbie Ray and Alex Wood are much better plays, but that will be reflected in ownership. So if you want to make kind of a direct pivot at the same price point, I guess you could go there, but I don't expect a huge game from Garcia here, to be honest.
Yeah, we got news. Marvin Hudson is the umpire, and DC, you could maybe talk about this a little bit. Like, how do you use like the umpire data? Because like I think it matters, but like I don't think you just like throw everything out the window when you get like an extreme pitcher's hump or hitter's hump. I think it helps break some tiebreakers here and there, but he gave an extreme hitter's hump in the Colorado game, which could mess some stuff up. At least that's what Gary's saying there. The stuff I'm looking at is a little different, but I don't know. It's hard to justify that. I don't normally make it something where I just shift everything I do. What I kind of do is I just use it as tiebreakers on guys, and it depends. I mean, when I build out my lineups, DC, if I need a cheap pitcher, I still think Marquez is my guy.
I think so too. I mean, Marquez, when he's good, he's relying on getting chases outside of the zone with that curveball and slider, right? That's not going to be affected by the umpire. He's not going to be throwing fastballs that Texas is going to be taking, and he gets, an inch off the plate, a few times a game is not going to make the difference for him in this team, in this matchup with the Rangers. He's either going to get these guys to swing and miss over the top of his curveball and slider and get strikeouts or not, right? So I don't think the umpire there is going to make a huge difference, to be honest. I look at the umpire stuff like, I don't know, pitchers that really rely on the called strike, like a Kyle Hendricks, right, who's just trying to nip the corners with 88-mile-per-hour fastballs the entire game. Of course, a good pitcher's umpire would matter more for him than a guy like Marquez. So, yeah, certainly something you want to look at and consider, but you gotta think about the pitcher type, and how they're going to find success, and if an umpire that's going to give you 2 or 3 calls a game over a regular umpire is really going to make that much of a difference for Marquez. I think probably not.
Hoop, how do you use the umpire data? Do you like, use it at all? Do you just like use it for tiebreakers? How do you kind of approach it?
I typically don't look at it. Tiebreaker stuff would really be it. I'm really deciding between 2 guys, and I feel it's a toss up. This guy has a pitcher's ump. This guy has a hitter's ump. I'll go with the guy that has the pitcher's ump.
It's also clearly baked into the team totals at this point, right? Yeah. Like if you're using team totals to help you with pitcher, of course, Vegas knows who the hitter and pitcher umpires are. So you're kind of double counting it a little bit, right? If you're using both those things.
No, that's totally fair and a good point. Like we double account things all the time too. So that's definitely worth mentioning. Give me your 3 pitchers that you like the most, DC. You start first for us.
Alex Wood, my number 1 tonight. He'll be on both my DraftKings and FanDuel rosters. And then SP2, I did mention I put Bassett in the cores early. You got me a little bit hesitating now. You're calling out that, the high pitch count. I kind of overlooked that for whatever reason. That is a little bit concerning to me with Bassett for Seattle. So he would be 2 for me on DraftKings if I wasn't a little bit concerned there. It's either going to be Wood and Bassett or Wood and Robbie Ray. So those are my top 3 guys. And then I'll throw Glasnow in there. And then Herman Marquez too, if you need a cheap guy.
All right, Hoop, give me yours. What do we got here? Some of your top pitchers on the slate.
Yeah, I mean, Ray, Glasnow, and I feel good about Marquez. I mean, maybe potentially even in tournaments, or in cash games too. Marquez, I'm fine with him tonight. I like him.
Yeah, I was gonna put him on the cash chart, and then I paused and I said, "Oh, let me wait for the show." And I think I'm sold to put him on there. So
yeah,
obviously depends on construction, depends on lineups and what we're looking at. So
that's the main thing. Like with roster construction, like if you're gonna build a team where you need to go cheap at pitcher, like to me, he's clearly the option in all formats. So add him on there.
I think so too. Yep.
Definitely was someone that I was looking to get in there. I like to give options too. So obviously having one cheap one in there sometimes is good unless it's just absolute garbage. So, but it's an interesting pitching slate, a lot of different routes to go. Let's go over and talk about the catcher position. DC, so far I have Mitch Garver in here. So we got to start off with you first. That's the guy I had is like on the cash chart so far. I want to add in some catchers. It's the position I always throw in different guys depending on what the lineups are. But Garver stands alone at the top as the guy, and it seems like a Twins chalk kind of day in Baltimore against Bruce Zimmerman, who's a lefty. So DC, what do we do with Mitch Garver against the lefty?
Yeah, he's my number one option too. Twins let me down big time yesterday. They were pretty putrid against Baltimore. So they owe me. The Mitch Garver and the Twins, they owe me today.
You can't say this every week. You can't say, oh, they let me down yesterday, they owe me. I mean,
the Twins have been good. They've got like the third, they've been all right. But yeah, I hear you. I'm going back to him though. Mitch Garver, my number one. Will Smith priced right next to him on DraftKings. My number two tonight. Kind of close between those two guys, assuming, of course, that Will Smith is indeed in there. I don't see many cheap catchers that I like a whole lot, honestly. So I do think probably going to try to spend here for the most part.
All right, Hoop, how about you? You spending a catcher up, down? Does it depend on the lineups? What are you doing with Mitch Garver in the catcher position?
I think it's the easiest position on the slate. Like you're playing Garver or you just punt it off. Like Garver, you're not even paying that much of a premium for him at 4.6K. Like it's to me a good price tag for him. So I don't think there's any reason to go higher than Garver. And if you're going to go lower, just go like way, way lower and just fully punt it off. And I think that is clearly the way to go at this position. But my strong preference is to just go ahead and play Garver. I mean, batting fourth here, really good matchup, good bounce back spot for the Twins. Yeah. Just checking a lot of boxes. So to me, it's a strong preference, strong lean towards just playing Garver.
Yep, that's the only guy I have on the cash chart right now. Could turn into a lock. As I gotta wait for lineups though. And that's how I always handle the catcher position. That's always super important. I know you guys talked about not going up past that, but like, could you be interested in maybe going up to like a Wilson Contreras or like a Salvador Perez in tournaments to get some lower ownership on a guy? Like, I don't know. That's the one thing I'm trying to debate is catcher. It's sometimes hard to eat like that Twins chalk, right? A lot of people are going to be eating that if they're the chalkiest one on the slate. Like, are you just mixing and matching your catcher that you're doing for your stack hoop? Like, how are you kind of handling it in tournaments?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely do that. If you're going to stack up a team, that catcher is obviously always going to be in the conversation. If you're going a one-off at the position, I mean, maybe. I mean, Garver will be the highest owned out of all these guys, so maybe look to pivot over go to Perez, Contreras, or maybe even a guy like Real Muto. Basically, the only three guys that are more expensive than him. But for me, I'm willing to eat it with Garver and just play him because I think he's that good.
All right, DC, anything else? Like I see Buster Posey's 4-3. Could he be I think a lot of people are just going to Garver and like I don't know in tournaments like it's not normally the smartest just to play like the one-off chalky guy, but I mean if he's going to be the best guy, I could get understanding and get an exposure to him. And in your twin stacks, you're going to be missing out on Garver. That would be unfortunate if he hits a home run. He's not part of your stack.
Yeah, this is one where I get a little bit torn because anytime that you can for sure identify who's going to be the most popular player at a position, and I feel pretty confident that Garver will indeed be the most popular catcher. Anytime you can know that for sure in baseball for a position player, it's kind of tempting to go elsewhere, right? In tournaments, because you just, it's 4 at bats and Garver's like a high strikeout guy. He's kind of home run or bust. And truth of the matter is, he's much less likely to not hit a home run than he is to hit one. So in tournaments, I don't have a problem pivoting. Those guys up top, like you mentioned, Wilson Contreras, Salvador Perez will be very low owned because people aren't going to want to go above Garver. Buster Posey's been great this season. He gets a home run prone lefty in Andrew Heaney. So yeah, I have no problem going away from Garver. Will Smith, as I mentioned, is a good option, but I just know if I fade Garver in my main tournament team, he's sending one over the wall in Camden. So it's kind of, I feel like this is like a lose-lose situation. Sometimes you just feel that way about a player, but we'll see. Most likely I'm going to end up playing him, I think.
Yeah, I always, it's a tough situation for sure, but he's a great player.
It's so tilting when a guy's the best player and you're like, I'll fade him, and then boom, home run versus the bat.
Oh yeah. I've been fading the Twins for a little while, so it's been good. So, yeah. And I don't want to play him as a one-off. I feel like that's just a waste. But Let's move on over to first base and talk about that. And more Twins to talk about. Miguel Sano is one guy we got to talk about. And I know we like Herman Marquez, but Nate Lau on the slate, right? At 3.5. I mean, that's a really good price tag in Coors. Hoop, I'll go over to you. I mean, there's some great first baseman option. I don't even want to sleep on like Freddie Freeman. If I have the money at 5.3, you could make a case for him, even though I don't want to attack Strasburg. There's a lot of good first baseman options today, but those two guys at 3K, Sano and Lau, they feel like they're going to be the chalk. What are you doing with them?
Yeah, so it's one of those rare situations where, I like the pitcher in Marquez, but I'm also willing to look to the Rangers offense as well, mostly due to the price tag. Like, these guys didn't get the Coors bump. Like, so Marquez got the bump down because he's pitching in Coors, but the bats in Coors, especially the Rangers, didn't get the bump up. And we got Nate Lau at 3.5K. That's just way, way too cheap for him. So I like him. You mentioned Sano. I like Sano as well. Freddie Freeman is a guy that's always in play, but really, to me, I think this is a position where you can save a little bit of money in those lineups where you're going to pay up for two pitchers or be like, 8K and above for both your pitchers. You're going to have to save at a few spots. I think both those guys are strong plays. Another guy I'm kind of looking at in that range as well, Carlos Santana, 3.9K, batting second. I think he's a fine option here tonight. You can also look to Kirilloff. I think Sano probably gets a little more ownership than Kirilloff, but Kirilloff's batting fifth, 3.9K. To me, there's, four guys in this upper 3K range, 3.5 to 3.9. It's most likely where I'll end up going here. Another name to throw in there, I don't mind the Mets today. Pete Alonso, 5K, good price tag for him as well. But I think this is a spot where we can save a little bit of salary. Nate Lau, whichever way it is, who the hell knows, it is one that stands out at 3.5K in Coors.
Yeah, well, DC, so you're more of a tournament guy and you got Sano there, you have Lau, but you know who is a 3.5K pivot? You can play him at second base or you can play him at first. It's Big Platoon's guy. It is Wilmer Flores against the lefty. I mean, we got to talk about Wilmer, right? At 3.5, and he can blow up at times. So, what are you doing here? Are you making a pivot off of those two chalky options, or are you eating the chalk? What are you doing here, DC?
I won't be pivoting to Big Platoon Wilmer Flores, so I'll come out and say that right away. Yeah,
do we think Flores is in Big T's court today? I mean, maybe you get it second, maybe not at first, but Big T's definitely on Wilmer Flores, right?
If he's not in Big T's score, I'm going to jump on the premium show and convince him to put him in the court.
It doesn't take much convincing.
He'll do it right away.
Say, hey, Wilmer versus.
I won't have to be more than there in 30 seconds, in and out. A little quickie for getting Big T or getting Wilmer Flores and Big T's score, but. I'll take this opportunity to talk about Steven Strasburg because Freddie Freeman might play here. The Braves are my stack today. I talked about it last time we were on the air, or last time Strasburg was starting. I believe you were on the air there, Mangone. Not sure if you were too Hoop. I don't think Strasburg is right. He did end up with okay results in that last start against Cincinnati. Went 5 innings, just 300 runs. If you look at the metrics, though, velocity came back down a little bit after it was kind of bumped in his first start back off the IL. He's just been dealing with all these injuries. And this is one where, I mean, Vegas is agreeing with me on this one because the Braves have a team total that's been climbing. It's up near 5 runs already, 81 degrees and humid in Atlanta. And I'll say this too, not a big, pitcher versus batter PVB data, but Freddie Freeman and Steven Strasburg, their encounters is about as a big a sample as you can get, 72 plate appearances. Obviously, they've both, their entire careers, they've been going against each other in the NL East, right? Strasburg been in the Nationals organization his whole career, Freeman a lifelong Brave. So they faced each other a lot. And I'll say this, Freeman kind of at the peak of his powers. Like this season, last season, that's the best Freddie Freeman we've ever seen. Strasburg clearly on the decline. So this is a better matchup for Freeman than it's ever been. And over the course of those 72 plate appearances, though, Freeman has an OPS over 1,000 against Steven Strasburg, 4 home runs, 6 doubles. He's hit him very, very well. And now we have a worse version of Strasburg, a great hitting environment. The Braves, Truist Park, where they play, I have it as the 4th or 5th best hitters park, especially when it's hot and humid like it is today. And Strasburg does have a little bit of history of struggling in this type of weather. You kind of put everything together, and I love this Braves team. Freddie Freeman obviously going to be in the stack if you stack them up. So, yeah, I don't think Strasburg's right. I feel pretty confident in that. I don't think he's going to be right anytime soon, and I think the Braves are going to get some very, very good swings off him tonight. So Freddie Freeman, he'll be my first baseman tonight, no doubt about it.
Yeah, Freeman's a good call there. And yeah, it's hot there too. So I like the Atlanta stack a little bit. It's definitely one that I looked at maybe getting some exposure to. So I'll definitely be considering that. Let's move on over to second base where, again, we talked about Wilmer Flores. Big Platoon will probably be all over him. I'm curious to see if he mentions him on the lock show. I'm sure he will talk about him. Hopefully he finds out live that he's on, the Giants lineup comes out. We can see Big T's face, just get all excited. We'll have to do a hand check and everything. But we also got some other options to look at as well. Jose Altuve has been ripping the ball. Good.
Where's our deal? Where's our internet deal?
What are you doing in the second base position?
Need to really, really implore the chat to search for the internet deal. The Run Pure subscription for a month, Mangone internet for a month would be one hell of a promo for whoever.
I think I'm good now, but give us the second base plays, Hoop.
Second base is a pretty rough spot. There's not a lot that stands out to me. I think one name, Brandon Lowe. I think the chat said it's Lowe. So Brandon Lowe, you are paying a premium though, $5K. You mentioned Altuve, hot bat. Don't mind him here, 4.8K though. Again, you're paying a premium. I have a feeling DC is going to be on Ozzie Albies in that matchup against Strasburg, and I also did notice that total continues to creep up for the Nationals. So, or for the Braves, their team total now, like you said, almost up to 5, which I mean, the highest on the slate is basically 5. So that's definitely an interesting spot, one to monitor. Josh Harrison, if you're looking for a cheap guy in a good lineup spot, he's batting second. He's only 3K. I think he's an option as well. In tournaments, a guy I don't mind, Odor. Glasnow is going to have some ownership, but Odor is batting second. Obviously not the greatest matchup, but gets a good lineup spot, good ballpark here. He's only 3.3K. Jorge Polanco batting 6 should keep his ownership down. It's one of those situations. If Polanco is batting leadoff like he's been, we're going to see him as one of the more popular guys on the slate at 4.3K. But he's batting 6. That's going to definitely keep his ownership in check. So I think he's another low-owned option. But not my favorite position. Those are just some of the guys I'm kind of looking at here.
All right, DC, how about you? I mean, it's a day the Dodgers probably aren't going to get talked about too much, and it is not a bad spot. Max Muncy at the top is in play. So is Jose Altuve. What are you doing here at second?
Yeah, I think if you want to Albies is my guy. I think, obviously I'm on the Braves here, and Albies been swinging it much better recently. Still prefer him against lefties overall, but he's going to be in my Braves stack for sure. But yeah, the two guys at the top, Max Muncy's been absolutely on fire recently. He gets John Gant, who I don't know how this guy continues to survive, walking like 4 dudes per start and getting no strikeouts. I mean, at a certain point, the sky's going to come falling for John Gant, and I would bet that happens sooner rather than later. So I do like Muncy, who's, as I mentioned, has been on fire recently. And then Ryan McMahon, I imagine, is going to get a lot of ownership for the Rockies. What's he hitting, second or third, I assume, tonight? Third for the Rockies. He's expensive, but he's been really, really good this season. 13 home runs on the year already. And swinging it better, even better at home, obviously. So Muncy, McMahon, good options up top. I think Albies kind of in that upper mid range at 4,600 on DraftKings. My preferred play. Hoop hit on most of the guys that I would consider as kind of value plays. I'll throw in Adam Frazier, who's been swinging a really good bat, leading off for Pittsburgh. I do like lefties against Singer in general, so I'd throw him in the mix. Brad Miller, great home run park in Cincinnati. He's been flashing a little bit of power this year so far. So there are a couple other guys you could play, but Albies the guy for me here tonight.
Yep, like the Albies call, the Harrison one too. I think there's a lot of different ways that you can go at second today. One way to not go though, we know this DC is not Nick Solak, right? At the 4 or 5 tag, we'll pass on him. It's not a lefty, but maybe
we'll be passing on Solak today. Yeah, exactly.
Let's move on over to the third base position, and let's talk about the Twins, right? Donaldson, Sano. You can roster Sano over there at third if you want to play a different first baseman. Donaldson at 4-5, definitely in play. Justin Turner, though, is 4-6, right? And against Gant, I'm not scared of this Cardinals bullpen. So there's a lot of ways you can go. I mean, Alex Bregman against Richards, we saw what Houston did yesterday, put up 11 runs. There's a lot of contrarian ways to go. I understand the chalk is probably the Twins, right, Hoop? So talk about them, but I think third base is a good spot. If you are playing a twin stack, I think it's not a bad way to get different with some bigger bats.
Yeah, I think Donaldson definitely has the most ownership at this position on both sides. He has a fair price tag, 4-5 on DK. He's 2-8 or 2-9 on FanDuel. Just definitely too cheap over there. He's going to be the most popular. Sano is going to obviously get ownership, 3.6K, like you said, first base or third base eligible. Those are definitely the options for cash games. But for tournaments, you come down Bregman with the Astros, a hot team. I agree that good call there. Jonathan VR, 4.3K, assuming he remains in that leadoff spot. I think he's definitely an option to consider. I'll let DC talk about his Braves guy that's batting cleanup. Justin Turner as well. I mean, 4.6. The one thing that's kind of interesting, these Dodgers bats really aren't popping all that much on projection. So I'm assuming could get the Dodgers at pretty low ownership tonight, which would be very interesting. They're also one of the later teams, or the last game on the slate, basically, which always keeps ownership in check a little bit. But like I said, the main guys here, the popular ones are going to be Donaldson, Sano. You have to decide if you want to fade it or eat the chalk, because it's very clear those are going to be the guys with the most ownership.
All right, DC, we got Nolan Arenado against the lefty at 4-9 that no one's going to play, right? And I'm not scared of David Price. I mean, there's a lot of big bats here I think you can go to. I think Hoop talked about the Dodgers. I talked about, I mean, I would not be surprised if no one's playing Justin Turner and we can load up on him. So a lot of different routes you can go at third. What are you doing here?
Yeah, Hoop, you mentioned you didn't think the Dodgers were projecting this high ownership. I mean, they do have the highest total on the slate at 5.1. So if you can get the highest team total on slate, a low ownership, that's usually pretty good way to go, right?
I could be wrong with the ownership, but I don't see. I don't think
I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at the ownership projections, but I don't think they have that much buzz around them. On this particular slate, so that's certainly a good way to go. Again, John Gant, he's not good, and I think stacking against him could very well work out. And you know, the back end of the St. Louis pen is good. They've got Gallegos and Alex Reyes back there. But beyond those two guys, it's really, really ugly in that St. Louis pen. And obviously, if that Dodgers stack does some damage early, you'll never see those guys anyway. So, I could definitely be convinced on that for sure. I think you'll see a lot of people, like you mentioned, Mangone, go to either Miguel Sano or Josh Donaldson in that Baltimore Twins game. I like both guys. But I mean, Miguel Sano, I mean, he puts up as many zeros as anybody, right? For a guy that's hitting him in the middle of the lineup is going to be popular. So again, great matchup for him, no question about it. But I do like that pivot to Austin Riley, as you mentioned, hitting cleanup for the Braves. The truth of the matter is Riley's a way better hitter than Sano is. You know, I mean, he's got more home. I mean, he's just beating him in every statistical category. He's been awesome recently. He's been way better at home. Eight of his 10 home runs have come at home. We think Strasburg's hurting. So, yeah, I think Riley's a fantastic pivot at just $100 more than Sano. I love that. I think beyond that, we hit on most of them. You know, I think spending at this position certainly fine. McMahon up top is a good option. Rafael Devers is a good option. Arenado, as you mentioned. But for me, I kind of like that direct pivot from Sano to Riley. It makes a lot of sense to me.
Yep, let's move on over to the next game and our next position. And we got the shortstop position. And we got two guys at the top in Fernando Tatis and Trey Turner, where you can't ignore them. And then we got, Big T's boy batting in the 4-hole, free money Freddie Galvis. Hoop, I'll go to you. I mean, are you playing free money Freddie in cash? I mean, he's going up against Pineda, batting cleanup in that nice little park, and the weather's not bad. What are you doing with Freddie Galvis and some of these guys up top?
Yeah, we have names at the top. I mean, we have the big names at the top, Tatis, we have Turner, but, honestly, it's tough to get there unless you're going cheap at pitcher. So, playing those guys is a little bit difficult. once you get away from those guys and start looking around, it's not the greatest position. I mean, there are not many great options. I think Freddie Galvis is in the conversation, 3.4K, batting fourth here. And Big T won't be on him because he's batting fourth and he knows he's going to have ownership. The only time Big T is on Galvis is when he's batting like seventh, eighth, or ninth. So I guarantee, tune into the Up to Lock show. I'd be willing to put money on the fact that Big T is not on Galvis for that reason. Carlos Correa batting second, 4.5K. Lindor, 4.9K. Or just full punt. I mean, we have punts. I mean, Simmons for the Twins. I mean, he's 2.1K, he's batting ninth. If you want a full punt, get exposure to a good offense here tonight, 2.1K. I don't hate doing that. One other name, though, we talked about him on the show yesterday, and he got the job done. Willy Adames, 4.1K. The matchup against Boyd is not great, but Adames has been swinging a nice bat lately. Hit the dong yesterday, so I think he's in the conversation as well. But most likely a spot here to save a little bit of salary. Nothing stands out. I mean, I think for me, highest I'm probably going to go. I mean, I guess I could play Turner, but Correa at 4-5 batting second seems like a reasonable play here today.
Yeah, a lot of different ways that you can go at the shortstop position. We even have Gavin Lux, who, part of the Dodgers. He's been on fire, so you can obviously go over to him. He had 2 home runs yesterday, so I'm sure title again, man. It's title season. He's been really peeling it off lately. So there you go. Double home run. But that'll be it for shortstop. It's a good position. I think, or actually, DC, we got to talk to you about the shortstops before we do that. We got to talk about free money Freddie. I know you've been playing him a little bit this year, but there are some good spend ups, right? Trey Turner, I think he's a really good option against a lefty. You can make a case for Willy Adames, who's been crushing the ball there with Milwaukee, but where are you going at the shortstop position, DC?
Yeah, Turner's looked good against Max Fried too. Again, two guys that have faced each other a bunch in the same division, and all recent data there, obviously with Fried just coming up a couple years ago. I mean, Tatis is the guy for me if you can get to him. Hendricks throwing those 87 mile per hour fastballs, and Tatis he's just a monster. It's every game with this guy. He's going yard. So I like his chances certainly against Kyle Hendricks, who Kyle Hendricks just refuses to walk people, which means he's gonna be coming in the zone to Tatis, which seems like advantage Tatis to me. So if I'm spending up, he's the guy. Kind of hard to get up there, right? We don't like a lot of the cheap pitchers. I think to get Tatis, I would need to go down to Herman Marquez. Not sure I'm willing to do that, but you certainly could. Lux, I like that call, especially if you're on the Dodgers. I think I would want to include him. He's finally coming around. Huge prospect pedigree, and looks like he's making good on it. Freddie Galvis, I mean, great option. Against Pineda's been good, but I still think lefty bats, especially in Baltimore, can do damage there. I like the call on Andrelton Simmons from Hoop. Not an exciting play, right? But he's obviously an excellent defender, so he's not going to get pinch hit for. You're probably going to get 4 at-bats out of him for $2,100. You don't have to do a lot to pay off that price point. And then, of course, I'll include my guy, Dansby Swanson, hitting 5th for the Braves. Really coming around. He got off to a super, super slow start. But like a lot of the Braves, they're hitting really well at home this year. So Swanson, he's up there for me, 3,900. I think he'll go pretty low owned as well, kind of in that mid-range.
All right, let's move on and talk about the outfielders. We got Nelly Cruz, right? I mean, he is too cheap today. That's one guy I saw that I was like, man, 4.7. If I am playing the Twins, I'm not leaving him off my stack. Too good of a play. I mean, you got Acuna too. You love the Braves at ADC, so we'll go to you. Acuna at the top is another great option at 5.5K. So, and we got these Texas outfielders. They're still too cheap. We got some good options with the Dodgers. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to go in the outfield, DC. So break it down for us.
Yeah, Acuna kind of number one with a bullet here for me. I keep talking about these Braves performances against Strasburg. Acuna, another one, and he's even more notable. 19 plate appearances against Strasburg over these last couple of years. Only 2 strikeouts, which I think is pretty impressive for, a lot of those were obviously against a much better version of Strasburg than we're seeing. An OPS of 1,100. And then here's the kicker with Acuna. He's been on first base, looks like a grand total of 9 times against Strasburg. He has 6 steals off of Steven Strasburg. So he's picked up something, obviously, right, in Strasburg's delivery where he thinks he can run on Strasburg. So you throw in, the second best hitter in baseball who's crushed this guy in the past. You throw in a broken Strasburg, and you throw and the fact that he's probably going to steal on Strasburg if he gets a chance, which, I mean, that's just an added bonus on top. So Acuna, the guy I want, number one, even over guys like Nelson Cruz, over the Coors guys like Charlie Blackmon, Chris Bryant in a good spot, but give me Acuna if you're spending up for one guy.
Yeah, Acuna's a great spend up, but so is Nelson Cruz, right? There's a lot of different ways you can go. You got Garlick in that Twins lineup. I mean, he is in the one hole at 3.0K. Like, outfielders has had so many cheap guys all year long. It's hard to not like slam some of these guys in your lineup. Like, we talked about some Houston bats, and Tucker, he's at 3.7. I mean, there's so many options you can go to. Alex Kirilloff, he's at 3.9, batting in the 5 hole. I know he's a lefty, but still another good twin option. So what are you doing here with all of these bats in the outfield?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously loaded. The 14-game slate. I mean, we're going to have a lot of outfield options. The Rangers guys are too cheap. I mean, Calhoun, if he's batting leadoff, 3.6. Joey Gallo, 4.1. Garcia, 4.2. I mean, all those guys are underpriced for a matchup in Coors. Twins guys, too cheap as well. Cruz, Garlick, 4.7K. Garlick, 3K. Those are just cheap price tags. Yordan Alvarez, 4.2K. I mean, a lot of mispriced outfielders. I'm not sure if DC mentioned this guy, but Almonte for the Braves is 2K flat. I mean, he's the minimum priced here in this matchup for a team that we said has this rising team total that wouldn't even be surprised if it goes up a little bit more. Those are really the guys that I'm focused in on. Kirilloff, what's his price? I'm not seeing him on here.
He's 3.9K.
Yeah. Another guy to consider. You can maybe look at some of these Rockies guys. Daza, 3.1K. Like I said, it's a loaded position, a lot of different ways you can go, and some of the best value on the slate kind of resides at this outfield position.
Yeah, I'll throw a couple more guys in there. For one, the Dodgers, Bellinger, Chris Taylor, I think are both really good options. But there are a number of cheap guys, as you mentioned, Hoop. So you threw in, I forget the guy that you mentioned. Almonte for the Braves. He has no power, which is my big concern there. So I think there are even a couple better options if you want to spend all the way down. Edward Olivares for KC, hitting 5th today. He's kind of a fairly big prospect. They called him up a couple days ago. He's swinging a pretty good bat. He had 5 home runs and 7 steals in like 20 minor league games before getting the call. I've been impressed with what I've seen from him. Gets a Will Crow, whatever that is, pitching for Pittsburgh. So Olivares looks like a really strong option. And then a couple of the Pittsburgh guys, Kai Tom, he's got a little bit of pop swinging from the left side. He's hitting 2nd for Pittsburgh, 2,100. And then not quite as cheap, but Gregory Polanco got power and speed from the left side. He's been coming around a little bit recently too. Has hits in 4 consecutive games, including a home run. He can run a little bit. He's 2,800. So, you can kind of full punt this one, certainly if you want to. I mean, there's just a number of guys that you can play here. I'll throw one last guy in the mix. Where did he go? Oh, Tyrone Taylor for Milwaukee. Hits lefties well. Hitting 6th for Milwaukee. Gets Matthew Boyd, who historically has given up a ton of home runs to right-handed hitters. Good home run ballpark there. He's minimum price as well. So you can go kind of a full punt outfield if you want to spend up at the other positions and spend up a pitcher as well.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the chat. We got like 500 watching. We only got like 140 likes, so we got to get those up. We don't want to, withhold the plays from you guys. Send you to the premium show, make them there. I mean, we can easily do that. I'm perfectly fine with it. So, guys, get those likes in. It helps us out, and we'll help you out. And we got some clowns in the chat today. I'll say that. I don't know if you've noticed, but we got some guy named Fade Uncle T. When Uncle T's out here, he's putting the playbook up for you. He's going to be doing the golf show. He's going to be on a golf betting show with me. And I couldn't imagine fading Uncle T. He's going to be bringing all the winners today.
Fade Uncle T. It's a tough day to fade Uncle T. And even if I agreed with fading Uncle T, I'm with Mangone. I have to do a show with Uncle T later, so I can't fade Uncle T. I'm pro Uncle T. Uncle T takes it personal if you kind of bring the insults to Uncle T. I've tried to poke the bear a couple times. He's not a fan, so I'm done with that. He'll come at me hard. I'll log into Discord the next morning, and everything I was wrong about, there'll be a long list of things from Uncle T. So I'm poking that to a bear no more. Yeah, Uncle T's a sensitive guy. You got to be careful. You got to pick your spots with Uncle T. And I mean, not to poke him a little bit, but he does owe me and Mango lunch. So I mean, that's the extent of the shit talking I'm going to say about Uncle T.
That's a smart move right there.
Listen, I love Uncle T. I'm not going to go at him at all. Yeah, he does owe me, but I haven't brought it up to him. I haven't sent him a message being like, oh, this, that. DC, you got to watch. He's in the Discord chat, which you guys should get in that Discord chat. And he's saying, hey, Mike Zunino, he hit 2 home runs on your head, DC. So you got to watch out, Uncle T.
I'm aware of everything I get wrong when I log into Discord in the morning. Uncle T's got a long list.
He's got that huge list, that GIF where there's just a list.
Very long list. Very long list.
Uncle T's got it all. So Uncle T's been crushing it. Hey, someone's saying, did I miss that Jordan's price? And he could be in the lineup today, right? He's 4.2K.
Yeah, he's back in there.
Yeah, good price on him for sure.
Yeah, he's missed 4 or 5 games with the sore wrist. I'm always hesitant about guys coming back from sore wrists, to be honest, because especially DH, where their only job is to hit, and your wrist hurts too bad to hit. It's just there's no way to know, right? Maybe he's good to go now, but maybe it's just good enough to put him in there. So that does make me nervous with him. But 4,200 is kind of baked into the price a little bit.
Double player said in the chat, fade Uncle T is like fading DeGrom. I mean, listen, I like Uncle T. I don't know if we
let's not go that far. Let's walk it back a little bit.
Let's wind it back a little. I love Uncle T, but DeGrom, I mean, that's a big way to go there, Hoop. Yeah. So it sounds like you have Jacob DeGrom showing up on the show for you, Hoop, on Tuesday Golf Show today.
That's a little too deep. Like we're pro Uncle T, but that's taking it to a whole new level.
Oh, that's too good. But again, get those likes up, and now we'll talk about the stacks. And then if the likes are there, we'll give out the plays. But we can easily just yield to JSU and Big T. You can get all the platoon plays on the premium show. Happy to do that. Also have to talk about Super Draft. We have a nice little promo going on over there. Use the code RUNCURE to get $100 match deposit bonus. Check that out. Also, Monkey Knife Fight, we have one too. Use that code RUNCURE. You get a $50 match deposit bonus. Get in the Discord. Get those plays. Hit up the core plays where we have tons of plays that we're giving out over there. So check all of that out. Now we'll go over to DC and let's get the stacks of the day, Draft G. What do we got here? Are we going to cores? Are we going to your Twins? What are we doing?
Yeah, no surprise. The Braves lead it off for me against Strasburg, that I don't think is just nearly what we've seen over the course of the last 2 years. I'm pretty convinced that he's a very much diminished version of himself at the moment. So love the Braves at home in Atlanta, where they've hit really well. Warm weather there. One of, if not, not as good as hitting environment as Coors Field, but I think the second best hitting environment on this slate is Truist Park in Atlanta. So they are my number 1. I'll go Twins number 2. Let me down yesterday, but I bet they come roaring back against Bruce Zimmerman. You can play lefties or righties against Zimmerman. I wouldn't worry too much about that. He doesn't seem to have big splits, just kind of sucks against everybody. So the Twins 2, and then I will go with the Rockies. No, never mind. No, I'm going with the Dodgers. Dodgers 3 against John Gant. Not a believer at all against him. Getting to the bad bullpen for Cardinals, they could do some damage. So yeah, I'll leave Coors Field alone today and go Braves, Twins, Dodgers.
Yeah, and Hoop, I know you got a notebook there. You might want to put down Tony A says, can't fade Big T either. And his name is Tony. You got to write, that's got to be a burner account, right? I mean, just take note. If you see anyone like saying Nick Foles is the greatest quarterback, or not Nick Foles, who is it? Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz.
I also love Nick Foles too, but that's his burner account, no doubt.
Are you sweating Carson Wentz on the Colts? He could have a little revival here. Hoop, what do you think?
God, Big T. I mean, it's going to be tough because Big T and Hoop do a lot of NFL shows together. And if Carson Wentz has a bounce back season,
you're going to be hearing about it.
Just pray for your buddy. That's all I got to say.
he is going to probably bounce back. I am with Big T. I think
so too.
I think it's going to be a good time for Carson. Tony A also said, how many likes do we need, Mango? Let's get that over 200. Push it home for us, guys. Hit that like. We got 500 in here. I don't want to hold the place, but I'm willing to here at this point. Travis in the chat saying Atlanta and Giants, let's go. So he's pumped about that. Hoop, give us your stacks today.
Yeah, so I mean, the one I think that's going to end up being the most popular tonight, which I do like, is the Twins. I think they bounce back, on the road here against Baltimore. They disappointed yesterday from an offensive scoring standpoint. I think they get back on track today here against Zimmerman. Another one that I like that I don't think going to have a ton of ownership, the Astros. They've been hitting the ball very well at home here against Garrett Richards, who I just don't think is all that great. And then I'm going to go to the Dodgers. The more I looked at it a little bit more when you guys were talking, I just don't think they're going to have a lot of ownership. And like DC pointed out, the matchup against Gann is pretty good. And he's not a great pitcher. So give me the Dodgers as well.
Yeah, I like the Dodgers. I like Atlanta, and I wouldn't sleep on Houston. Houston's another one that I'm looking at that I might get some exposure to on this slate. I mean, there's some good bats, and when they're swinging good, I want to keep backing them. We'll have to see what I do with Jordan on the wrist issues, but I think the Astros are definitely in play. Oop, what are we doing with the likes? Let's see what we got here, and then we might have to leave without giving away the plays of the day.
They're getting there for us. We got 190, one more little push. That's all it takes is one more little push and to get us over the hump. Let's see. Yeah, still hovering at 190. They're going to get us home, I think.
We'll give them one last chance. Sorry about the golf show tonight. So we got the Memorial, right? It's a nice tournament. We got Uncle T. We got AP. I'm doing a bet show. If you check out the Run Pure Bets channel, I'm doing that with Snyder. He can talk about all of the paspalum greens and the layered roughs and everything, the salted greens. He'll be talking about that. Me, Uncle T, and JJ will be having a good time on the bet side. That'll be a free video that'll be out there. But talk about the show tonight and kind of what you guys do there.
Yeah, so me, AP, and let's see. It's not a major, so Uncle T is going to actually stay with us instead of ditching us for the Wednesday show. So me, AP, Uncle T will break it to full breakdown, basically full field, and we kind of go through each tier and pick our favorites in each tier, 10K and above, 9K to 10K, go all the way down, and then we give away some winners at the end, and it's a good show, a lot of fun. So come check it out.
Yep. I made some money last week, hoping to make some money again this week. Definitely be tuning into that. You guys give out all the great winners. And is the Wednesday show coming back, Hoop? Do we got the Wednesday guys?
I believe the Wednesday show might be a permanent fixture. I'm not 100% on that, but I think the Wednesday show is going to be around every week.
Yeah, so check that out too. Don't miss that tomorrow night. It's always a fun time. You got Big T, giving out his winners. You got JSU out there, and it's a fun little show. So don't miss out on that. And we got over the likes, so we can go to the plays. But again, keep hitting them, right? Don't just stop now. That we got to that number. DC, let's go to you first. Let's get the mom's basement play of the day. So hit me with it. Where are you going here? Pitchers, hitters. How many are you giving us?
I'll give two outfielders today as the mom's basement bagel bites plays of the day. One, very high priced Ronald Acuna. I feel like I got to give two when one's Ronald Acuna, right? That just seems only fair. But I'm calling for a home run and a stolen base off of Steven Strasburg today for Acuna. And then I'll go all the way down to the bottom to counter Acuna's salary. That's Edward Olivares for the Brewers. I think he's going to be pretty damn good hitter, power, speed guy, dynamic player. He's stone minimum, gets Will Crow, who's not any good, hitting fifth for the Royals, Edward Olivares, and Acuna, the mom's basement plays of the day.
All right, we'll go to you, Hoop. What are you doing here? Give us your play of the day. Who do you got?
I'm gonna go two. I'm gonna give a pitcher and I'm gonna give a hitter. The pitcher is gonna be our boy Marquez, Rockies. Like I said, game in Coors, not typically a spot to go for pitching, but I think Marquez does a very good job tonight against the Rangers. Then the hitter is gonna be our boy Willie Adames, just getting it done in that 2-hole for the Brewers. I think he takes Matt Boyd yard tonight. So Marquez and then Adames.
All right, I'm going to give you my play of the day. I'm going with Mr. Justin Turner at third base. I'm not playing Josh Donaldson. I mean, he's not someone I want to mess with too much. So there's just so many good third basemen. I feel like it's always a loaded position with tons of power bats. That's where I like to pivot a lot of the time. And I'll go with Turner. I don't think people are going to be on him. So give me Justin Turner as my play. But that'll wrap up everything here. DC, give us your final thoughts on the slate, and then we'll get on out of here.
Yeah, it should be a fun one. My big bet is that Strasburg is kind of indeed broken. So the Braves, I'm rolling with that. All signs point to that for me, including good history for the Braves against him already. And then, pitching, I think, seems, like a fairly tight pool to me. I recommend playing, for those guys kind of near the top, whether that be Glasnow, Bassett, Wood, and Robbie Ray. And then if you want to go cheap, I'm with Hoop. Marquez seems like a good option down at the bottom if you need some salary savings.
Hoop, we should have just called this the Atlanta show, right? You and I on the Hawks, owning Big T and JSU. Then we got DC on the Atlanta Braves. I mean, it's a good time here. We love Team Atlanta, Hoop.
Hot Atlanta, baby. That's what they call it, right? Hot Atlanta.
Yep, Hot Atlanta. So we'll be hitting that up. We'll be hitting it up with Lou Williams at the strip clubs and everything. It's a good time. But we got to get out of here. We got to get out of the way of Big Platoon, JSU. They'll be talking some MLB at 5:30. Bring in the winners. If you want to watch that show, it's not a free one. Use that code RPSHeater25 to get 25% off and sign up now. And hit that like button on the way out. But we're going to get on out of here. Thanks a lot for joining. For me, Mangone, Hoop, and DC. See you later.